So,
Cool.
hey Brandon, how's it going?
Good, Jeff. Good to be with you.
Likewise. So today I'm joined by Brandon Smith. He's the Director of Revenue Operations and AI Strategy at QuotaPath. For the audience, can you tell the audience a little bit about QuotaPath and
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah. So QuotaPath is a sales commission automation platform. So we work with a lot of software companies, really any kind of company that has commission-based users or commission-based reps. And we try to automate that commission calculation process, making it from a like multi-day type of process to 1 to 2 hours. So I've been at QuotaPath for almost about 6.5 years now, which is wild to consider in the tech space these days. Uh, I've spent my career in tech for just over 10 years. I've worked in revenue operations for about the last 7 years, on and off, depending on what role I had at the time. And as of this year, I've definitely been spending more time on AI adoption, AI operations. It's a fairly new space these days, but definitely needs to be done at every organization. I feel like at this point in time. So I've been leading that charge alongside some of our execs as well.
That's amazing. So obviously I know what RevOps is, but you're talking about AI strategy in your title, which is really cool.
Yeah.
You've come from a lot of early stage companies, team of one. I've done that myself. It's not an easy journey. I'm curious how you think about balancing the needs of the business versus your capacity and capability as a team of one.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging. I'm not gonna lie. It feels like I'm kind of juggling multiple roles at a time. Like there's this automated outbound component that we can chat a little bit about. There's obviously RevOps as traditional RevOps with sales ops, marketing ops, CS ops, supporting all of those functions. And then now there's this like AI component on top of all of this where it's trying to be the facilitator of AI adoption in an organization. I would say that like in order to have successful AI adoption, everybody needs to be a little bit curious and do some of their own exploration in order to get something that ends up having like benefit to the entire organization. So yeah, it's definitely challenging. I do have some separate resources that I use on the side that help me on Salesforce and some of the other tools in our tech stack. But yeah, for the most part, it's a one man show, and it's a new challenge every day, which that's something that I really enjoy in working in startups and working in RevOps in particular.
That's awesome. So you shared with me some information around some of the projects and use cases that you've developed. I want to go into that a little bit, but first, one of the core metrics that I saw, which I thought was really interesting, was total ARR by FTE, full-time
Yeah,
employee. And, some of these AI native businesses have such astronomical revenue growth in such a short time frame. Like I came from the SaaS world where
yeah,
you wanted to get to a triple, triple, double, double, double to get to 100 million within 7 to 10 years, right? And less than 1% of companies actually achieve that. And so now I'm seeing companies get to 100 million in less than 18 months. That is
yeah.
bananas to me. And so I'm curious about, when you're thinking about key metrics of measurement for AI, how did you center around total ARR by FTE and walk me through an example of how you've been able to improve that with some of the initiatives
Yeah.
you put in place?
Yeah, so the reason why we look at ARR by FTE is because ultimately what AI is meant to do, in my opinion, is to take the existing team and make them more efficient. And we can also add headcount that is also more efficient. But the reason why we've looked at ARR by FTE is because we're able to ideally applying AI to certain problems here and there make the average individual or the above average individual. I like to think that I work with above average humans. Uh, Make them even more powerful in their day to day. So one example of this, we brought on a tool called Momentum.io. And what Momentum does is it takes all of our conversations that we're having with our customers, whether they be emails, calls, meetings via Zoom, anything like that, and they utilize a couple of different agents that take that information and then digest it in a way, apply AI to it, and then put that information into our Salesforce. And so we were spending a ton of time, our reps were spending a ton of time having these calls, then digesting those calls, using Gong transcripts here and there, and leveraging ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it might be, and coming up with these insights themselves, and then having to plug those in individually to every single Salesforce opportunity that they're doing. Our reps work on average like 15 to 30 opportunities at a given time. So as that continues to pile up, they're spending tons of times, up to 30 hours, just filling out Salesforce fields. The reason why we spend so much time on these Salesforce fields is because we want to make sure that the handoff from our account executives to our CSMs is seamless, and the CSMs have all the information that they need. So we found that this was a problem, spending way too much time on updating CRM, 30 hours, like I mentioned. And we knew that there was a solution out there. And we came across Momentum, and that has now led for our reps to actually do more activities. So going back to the ARR by FTE, they're now doing more activities that drive that revenue to ultimately lead to more revenue, ARR by FTE. We haven't added many reps in this process, but we have added ARR, which has been nice. And so those reps, we've done this for about 2 quarters now. Those reps are now spending, or their output is 10% higher than what it was pre AI and pre Momentum. So that's just one example of something that we've implemented that is, when looking at ARR by full time employee, like that's where we're trying to drive efficiency at the end of the day.
So a long time ago, I think this was at um, the Serious Decisions. What do they call it? The It was a 2x2, and
Yeah,
something I subscribe to all the time. The 2x2 is direct activity versus
yeah,
indirect activity on one axis, and on the other axis is customer facing versus internal. And what you want is you want customer facing, whether it's external or indirect or direct, and then you absolutely want direct customer facing. So what you want to do is you want to streamline the indirect internal time, which is like, filling out Salesforce is a selling activity, but it's
yeah,
indirect, right?
yeah,
Writing an account plan, that is indirect. And so what you can do is you can start to streamline a lot of those activities and shift that time over. At Google, we had this time study that we used to send out to everyone on how you spent your time. And it was such a involved survey that it would take an hour or two to fill out. But it gave you a
yeah,
really detailed view of how folks spent their time minute to minute. So I find that super useful. Now, you talked about something that I think is interesting called Good Vibes Friday. Besides
yeah.
sounding like a really cool like music album, what is Good Vibes Friday?
Yeah, so it's actually Good Vibe Coding Friday. So Good Vibes at QuotaPath has always been a thing where we share wins of the week. We share shout outs in a Slack channel. That is now kind of spun out into what we call Good Vibe Coding Fridays. Vibe coding, the operative term here. And really what we're trying to do is enable everybody to be builders. Like in this AI age that we're in right now, the barrier to entry to actually build either prototype apps or lightweight internal apps is very, very low. And so we've leveraged a bunch of different tools. My favorites tend to be like a Replit or a ChatGPT in some sense. And what we're doing is we're coming up with problems or little pains that we're having to deal with in a day-to-day basis, and trying to come up with software solutions for them. And using like a Replit, for example, and doing some like meta prompting work in ChatGPT, describing your problem, telling it, hey, I want you to write a prompt for a tool like a Replit or a Lovable or a Bolt. Uh, like come up with a prompt that I can send to Replit. And so what we've ended up doing is we've built internally. So this has been going on for about a month now. And internally we've built like already a handful of tools that our team is leveraging on a pretty regular basis. So the first one that we came up with was like the problem that we had was taking demo data and like putting that into QuotaPath and allowing our reps and our engineers and our product people to use data to see like visualize in QuotaPath. And historically, what we would have to do is either go to ChatGPT to do it, maybe leverage a sandbox in Salesforce or a HubSpot. And now what we're able to do is plug in the different parameters that we want. We can add multiple different fields. We can add extra date fields, all of this different stuff that we can potentially add to this data set, and we can generate it with this app that we've built. Building the app took like 2 hours altogether, like with coming up with the prompt, coming up with the idea, then coming up with the prompt, and then coming up with the output. And it's been like already saves our team a ton of time. And it's like a production app at this point, which is fun.
That's awesome. So the app produces demo data to be used for a custom demo.
Exactly. Yeah. So if I'm meeting with an organization and I know that their deal value tends to be between 25 and 100K, and I want a normal distribution between that amount, and I want deals for the last quarter or the last year, and I want X amount of deals per rep, like I can add all of that information into this custom app that we've built, and it would spit out that data set for us.
That's awesome. I do the same thing like with some of these influencer marketing deals. When I'm building a demo, I actually, same thing, prompt
Yeah,
ChatGPT to build a dummy data set. And because you know the backend architecture of the system, you know all the API names to configure the CSV correctly. So that's super cool. Uh,
totally.
so micro tools, have you actually used a micro tool as an offer as well externally?
Yeah, so that's something that like this is going to end up leading into, like allowing us to build all together and not just siloing it to the engineering team or the product team, allowing us to build prototypes and then share those prototypes amongst each other should end up leading to um, like a marketplace of different apps that we could potentially build. One example of this that I've been playing around with now that we're already talking about 2026, which is wild to think about. It's already September. I've started building. It's fairly lightweight, but it's a financial planning application for companies, and it takes into account, okay, what's your entering ARR? What do you think your win rate is going to be? What's the pipeline that you're going to generate? What is upsell? What do upsells look like in your organization historically and moving forward, modeling it out, and then what does churn end up looking like as well? You can plug in all these different variables and set an end number that you're trying to get to, and what this app that I've built in Replit does is says, okay, if try adding some reps here, or try adding quota capacity, or what if NRR went from 100% to 110%? All of these different like scenario builders that you can end up building that is very easy for some to do in Excel. This allows, it takes the like Excel work out of play and allows folks to work together in this like very clean, pretty collaborative application that again, I pretty much one shotted it with a prompt. It took me about an hour to build as a whole, and like there's some things here and there that I can end up adding to it, but just another example of something that we can build really really easily in this like good vibe coding session, and potentially end up having it as a like a an add-on to a QuotaPath offering, for example.
That's cool. Let a thousand flowers bloom, right? I think that's the
Yeah,
idea. What I think one of the things is in your organization, you're introducing the spirit of innovation, right? And
yeah,
the intrapreneurship is incredible, which I think is amazing. So,
yeah,
thinking about when you build all these apps, right? How do you find use cases, right? Because I can think of a bunch immediately off the top of my head, which is
totally.
the simple ones that are published on LinkedIn, right? Like let's do medic grading,
Yeah.
let's do advanced enrichment on a micro vertical use case. I'm curious how you think about intake for use cases, ideating, and then identifying which ones to tackle.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I would say one, it helps being at this organization for over 6 years now that I have a pretty good understanding of the space. I have a pretty good understanding of our customers and our ICP and our all of that. So a lot of the ideas end up just coming organically to me at this point. I will say one important thing going back to kind of like AI ops and AI strategy is trying to make sure that you have a good understanding of like the pulse of the go-to-market team. So one thing that I've done in the last couple of months is I've met with every single member of our go-to-market team and just wanting to understand one their current use of AI. Are they using a chat GPT? Are they using a Replit? Are they exploring other tools out there? Like understanding what the AI literacy of the organization is, and then where I'm spending most of my time with them is actually uncovering the problems that they're facing on a day-to-day basis. And the way that I try to frame that question is take AI out of it for to begin with. Like it could be process related, where something in our Salesforce is written a certain way that like is really annoying to have to deal with, and just listening to those problems that our reps are facing on a daily basis, and then taking all of that information and coming up with solutions that actually drive change in the organization. Because one area that I am guilty of, and I feel like a lot of people are guilty of, is this kind of shiny object syndrome, where people are building all of these different like really cool things, but then nobody's really asking for them, and then they go unused. And as a builder, an operator, like that is one of the most frustrating things, is when you build something that goes unused. And so staying rooted in the problem, understanding those problems, and then trying to build solutions towards those problems is my biggest piece of advice for anybody that's working in this space right now.
That's great. So most folks think about AI replacing some workflow or replacing people. But what I think it is you're really just adding
Yeah,
AI on top of existing processes. When you think about integrating AI, what is the approach to make sure that one, you're building AI workflows that will be accepted by the organization, and then two, it is going to yield the benefits, right? Because the one thing I don't want is I bring in AI, it doesn't work, and then I have
yeah,
to reintroduce human manual processes. And what you've done is you've burned a ton of time and you've burned a
yeah.
lot of trust within the organization.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is a risk that people have to kind of take. Like you have to try to break stuff in order to like make progress. Unfortunately, like that's just the hard truth in all of this. I will say that like it is important. Like when you are using AI to just augment existing processes, I think that's the easiest way to add AI to your work, your like your workforce, your organization, whatever it is. So if it's taking a Zap, for example, and adding an AI layer to it, or if it's building an N8N workflow and adding like an agent layer to it, or if it's building in Clay and you're doing AI powered like qualification or disqualification of certain leads, or if it's writing a snippet of an email that you're sending using AI, like these little things here and there that end up like making taking the like human element out of it. I will say that like I am a strong proponent of human in the loop in all of this stuff, specifically when we're doing things that end up getting to our customers or our prospects. Like it is incredibly embarrassing and very obvious when something is completely AI generated that you're receiving. And we try to stay away from that. I think it's keeping things as internal as possible and just making everybody more efficient is really the focus that I try to take.
That's amazing. So we're coming up to the end of the show. I always ask folks, what's one piece of advice that you would want to leave for the revenue operations and the go-to-market community?
Yeah, I think like and I already think that most people that are in this role operate this way, but just remaining curious, like that's been the most important thing that I've tried to do in my career, whether it be in RevOps or, I mean, I spent a lot of time in customer success as well. I managed a support team too, and there's always you can tell when people are more curious and it going the extra mile to like go try to find a solution or try to learn something. And like specifically in this space today, like there are so many tools out there. It is exhausting, but it's important to spend your time exploring these tools, remaining curious, because ultimately what that will lead to is your own personal growth. I will also say, like, another thing that um, I try to like stay true to, and I mean that's why I'm here today, is just continuing to learn from each other. I obviously like to spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, either posting or just taking in what other people's posts are and what other people's ideas are. And I think that's the best way that we can learn from each other at this point, because frankly, no one's really an expert in this space quite yet. It's so new, it's so ever changing that just learning from each other is where we're gonna get the most out of. So connect with me on LinkedIn. Um, Send me a DM. I've even shared my Calendly link with people to book time directly with me, and I've had like 20 conversations with folks. Just again, learning from each other. So yeah, stay curious and learn from each other is what I would say.
I love that. And I appreciate every time you and I have had a conversation and really opening up and sharing our toys, things that we're
Totally, of
working with. So I appreciate you, Brandon. For those who want to
course.
connect with you and learn more about QuotaPath, where can they do so?
Yeah, so quotapath.com. If y'all want to email me, my email is brandon at quotapath.com. And then I have a very boring name, so try to find Brandon Smith on LinkedIn. I'm sure you will. But yeah, that's the best way to get in touch with me.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Brandon.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.